to school and somebody asking you if you put the same kind of grease in your hair as you use to fry your chicken.
Oh, Lord. I believe.
You know?
I believe.
Like, and all an administrator can say, because I took that to the administrator, so what are we going to do about this? And her thing is, you know, well, we can't control who comes to school and says what. You know, like, they learn those types of things at home. Well, what are you teaching here?
Right.
Because that's my thing, and that's why I'm coming out the gate so hard. Like, our children spend so much of their time in school. More time than they spend at home with you. Yeah, more time than they spend in their extracurricular activities. More time than they spend in church. They spend in the halls and walls of school. So what are you teaching them? And furthermore, how are we equipping these children? Because as tragic as Kalea's story is, this thing is way bigger than her. Yeah. And I've seen it like firsthand, like since I first spoke out, like people are in my inbox, people who don't look like me at all, money way longer than mine could ever be. And the thing that we have in common is these children in a school system being harassed, being ridiculed, being physically and verbally assaulted with little to no repercussion in a school district that says that there is zero tolerance for such behavior. I'm going to have to see show and improve in that, because just as recently as this past weekend, I had a parent reach out to me, well, she's not a parent, she's a guardian, and her niece, who attends the same middle school, just recently started, I think she said in October, and she was just discharged from a mental health hospital on last week for attempting to commit suicide. Why? Because she was being bullied and it was falling on deaf ears. I've heard from parents that talked about like how they were going up there and talking about how their student was being physically assaulted. There was a smear campaign on social media, terroristic threats via text message, and you don't do anything. And then when they threaten to sue, then you want to talk about changing classes, but not for the bullies, for the victim. So they just end up pulling their children out of school. And I had that question asked of me as well. If it was so horrible, why you didn't pull her out?
I was about to ask, did you consider switching schools?
Okay. So I'll accept the question. Did you consider switching schools? But like, why didn't you pull her out? I feel like it's such a privileged question.
And they wanted you to pull out, meaning doing homeschool? Okay.
Yes, and let me state that there is a significant number of children that are in Greenville K-12's homebound program, specifically because they were bullied. I actually was on a conservative program on last Tuesday morning, and it's crazy because somebody reached out to me and was like, well, you know, if you really want this to make an impact, you're going to have to get with the conservative audience. And I was like, that's crazy, you know, to even think that you would have to appeal to a certain demographic. But that woman had been talking about our story for like a week, and I found out that it had hit close to home for her because she too had a 12-year-old son that had been being bullied. She'd reached out. She had conferences. She was doing everything that she could. Nothing changed. They wanted to make changes, but to her son's schedule, which would just undo like everything that he had going. And these structure and routines matter for children's mental health. And so she ended up having to pull him out. And she's like, you know, she's in a position where she had two older children who can kind of help watch him during the day while she works. I'm not in that position.
Right.
And like I stated on her show, because that was a question that was asked while I was on that morning, I said in the beginning that Kalea went to a brand new school where she didn't know anybody. She had the same friends from kindergarten through fifth grade. So any school that I would have put her in was going to be the same situation. It was going to be her brand new, needing to meet people and make friends. And that was going to be contingent upon how willing people were to accept her. So it's not about changing schools. It's about changing the atmosphere and the environment in schools. Right. If bullying is really zero tolerance, and that's what it needs to be, that needs to be the atmosphere in the school. Like the first time that you hear somebody being called out of their name, you don't join in and be like, oh my God, it's just a joke.
Right.
Because if it's anything that's attacking somebody's appearance, how is it a joke anyways? you know, you take the time right then and there. I feel like if it was really zero tolerance, if you really started calling people mama and them, and they had to start getting up off that couch, putting down that remote control, or having to leave those jobs,
clocking up,
then you're going to start to address the situation. But we're